In this video, I wanted to go over the cons of living in downtown San Diego and whether or not you should avoid living in the city. If you've been following my channel, seen my videos, you know that there are a lot of great reasons to live in downtown San Diego, but let's face it, it's not all sunshine and roses. I'm gonna hop into that in just 1 second, but before I do, my name is Wesley Guess. I'm a downtown San Diego real estate agent, but I cover the entire San Diego County. If you need any help buying or selling real estate, don't be shy about reaching out. My information is gonna be down in the description. And I'm putting out content like this at least once a week. If that's something you're interested in, please subscribe. So I think con number one about living in the city, I think it's a pretty obvious one, but it's going to be the cost of living. Everything down here is gonna be a little more expensive, or at least in a lot of cases. The restaurants, they're great restaurants, but they're not cheap. Even your everyday items like the grocery stores, things like that, they can be just a little bit more pricey probably than some of the other stores that you might be used to. Now the biggest cost driver, of course, is going to be housing. There's a lot of perks to living like in a high-rise type situation, or even a mid-rise like condominium situation, even a townhome, but it definitely comes at a price. So you're gonna have, like, if you own a condo, you're gonna have like monthly HOA payments, although sometimes those HOA payments can include utilities and some other things that you'd be paying for anyway, so sometimes it makes a lot more sense than others. Now at the time of recording this video, median price on a condo, it's about $880,000. Just looked up the median rental price. The price that was cited to me was just under $3,000 to rent an apartment on a monthly basis.
Oh, that hurt a little.
Downtown San Diego, great place to live, but it's not gonna be the place to go if you're looking to save money. Con number two, I think, is gonna be something that a lot of people do think about before they ever get down here to downtown San Diego, because it's gonna be the case in most cities. You have to think about noise and, of course, traffic. Now, the noise factor in downtown San Diego in most of the different areas is gonna come from a few primary drivers.
Am I being too loud again?
The nightlife, like in the gas lamp quarter, I mean, it's one of the it is pretty much the busiest nightlife in San Diego County. Between 9, maybe 8 o'clock at night to even like up to 2 a.m., you can get a lot of noise happening in that area. That's gonna be 5th Avenue, 4th Avenue, and 6th Avenue. It's a small little strip, looks like this, but it's the most famous part of downtown San Diego. But you're also gonna have nightlife that happens a little bit in East Village. You're gonna have nightlife happening in Little Italy, like especially off India Street. Just keep that in mind. People who live in the city, I mean, they go out. I mean, that's one of the big draws for living in the city. And also a lot of people are gonna come to the city to do that kind of stuff, because you don't see that, let's say, like in the San Diego suburbs as much. Another big noise driver in the city is going to be San Diego Padre games at Petco Park. On a year, assuming we don't make the playoffs, I'm knock on wood, a normal regular season is going to be about 81 or 82 home games. It's going to be a considerable amount of noise, up to, let's say, 9 o'clock at night in a lot of cases. Even if they go to extra innings, could be even later. There's going to be a lot of people in town out and about, and that's going to be weekends and weekdays. And then tying into that is going to be all the traffic associated with, let's say, the nightlife, and of course the Padre games and other events at Petco Park. I probably should mention they do have a lot of concerts that happen down there, and then there's a lot of festivals and events that happen in other parts of downtown San Diego as well. So just by living down here, you're probably going to be a little more mindful of that stuff, but it's going to be an extra thing to think about. Okay, so con number three, it's going to be lack of green space. That being said, there are a few parks down here that you can take advantage of. Waterfront Park, Pantoya Park, Embarcadero North or Embarcadero South. Now Martin Luther King Promenade is another green space. Park at the Park, which is behind Petco Park, Fault Line Park. Now that being said, pointing out some of the parks that do exist in the city, you got to remember downtown San Diego is right next to Balboa Park. Now that's the largest urban park in the entire United States, over 1,200 acres. It's huge. I mean, that's where the San Diego Zoo is going to be. Tons and tons and tons of trees, grass, all that good stuff. Con number four is going to be a big one. It's been in the news a lot lately, and it's not just exclusive to San Diego. I'm talking about homelessness. Besides the fact it's terrible to see people in that state and living like that, living on the streets, I can't even imagine. But that being the case, if you're living here in downtown San Diego, it does affect your lifestyle, so you need to be aware of it, and you need to know like some of the bigger areas where it's happening. If you look here on the map, this area where you get off the freeway at the 163, then you're gonna start to see a lot of tents right away on 10th Avenue. Next spot where I'm seeing a lot of homeless activity and tents is going to be right around here, which is kind of the post office area. A lot of tents there. And then the third biggest spot is going to be all the way along 17th Street and even into 16th. You got a lot of homeless there, and you have historically, because that's where a lot of the services are, the homeless shelters out there, facilities, things like that. So of course you're going to have a lot of homeless activity out there. If you're in Little Italy, if you're in the Marina District, if you're in East Village especially, I mean, you're going to see some homeless people around, but it's definitely a lot worse in certain areas than others. And to go along with homelessness, and not even just homelessness in general, you should be thinking about like safety, where you're going to live, where you're going to be walking, what are the hours you're going to be out. Is it going to be dark? Is it going to be light? Are there going to be a lot of people? Not a lot of people? Safety is a big concern. I compiled a list actually of 7 different websites. I'm going to put those links in the description below. You can check them out after you watch the video, of course. Now, con number 6, downtown San Diego, there's not going to be a whole lot of like families that live in downtown San Diego. The reason is, I think it'd be very difficult for a child to grow up in downtown San Diego. There's just really not a whole lot of anything for kids to do. I mean, I can't really see them going outside and playing that much outside of like a playground. Number 7, I wanted to talk about like trains, trolley, and airplane noise. Probably should have mentioned this when we were talking about noise earlier, but let's talk about it right now. Years ago, downtown San Diego, they did a pretty good job at kind of curtailing the sound that the trains and trolleys were making as best they could. You're definitely not gonna hear as many like train horns coming through the city as you used to. Now, I will tell you this, when the trains or the trolleys do bother people, it's actually not usually the noise that's coming off the train or the trolley. It's actually the bells that are on the crossings, like when the arms go down and the bells and the lights go. Now, airplane noise, it kind of just depends where you're at in downtown San Diego. I mean, there's certain parts where you're not going to hear anything. If you're closer to the north, or you're in north like Little Italy, Cortez Hill, you're going to have airplane noise as airplanes are getting ready to land at the airport. Now, I just mentioned Cortez Hill. If you're living in Cortez Hill, keep in mind a lot of the apartments and condos in that area are actually going to be bordering the 5 freeway, which can be extremely noisy. Be mindful of that.
Not a fan.
And one last con that I want to throw in there, at least for me, it kind of drives me nuts sometimes. There is a ton of construction happening in downtown San Diego. It feels like an endless amount of apartment high-rises right now are being built. I mean, East Village, Little Italy, a lot of construction projects happening. And then of course, if there is a construction project happening, it can bring a little bit of a noise level as well, especially if you're living close to one of those projects. That's gonna be my list. Now, depending on what gets under your skin, your list might be a little different. There might be things you could add to that. There might be things on my list that might not bother you at all. That being said, I hope that helps you if you're thinking about moving to downtown San Diego. And if you enjoyed this content, please subscribe. Now, if you're looking for another video to watch, I recommend checking this one out here. I break down all the neighborhoods in downtown San Diego. Thank you for watching. Have an amazing day.